Hello and welcome to another tutorial by Seth's Tutorials on the Unreal Engine 4. This is in 4.12. That is the newest launcher, the newest engine version release that is out. Went ahead and did it in this one so that we'd have it to look at. But for anyone checking this video out, it can be done in pretty much any of the other versions of this program that I've used thus far, anywhere from 6.1 all the way up to 4.12. All of the language and stuff we use in the blueprints is all the same. None of it has ever changed. So you may be asking yourself, what are we going to do in this, even though the name of the video is Progress Bars? Well, this is what we're doing in it. We got a nice little demo here of us. I've got a 1 in the corner right here behind the shift +1. You see it there? I got an experience bar. It's 0 out of 50 at the moment, and I got a progress bar. We hit the K key, K as in kid. You can see that we gain experience. Once I hit 50, I then level up. I've now gone to level 2. I retain whatever additional experience I had that put me over the 50 required to level. And then it continues on from there, so it gives you something to start off with. As you can see here, it's 116.75 out of 117. Carry over to level 3. I now have 5.5 experience starting off the level with. It carries on the bar there so that you can see it. And now we also need 275 experience to level. Now in some games you may see where you need 50 to level, and then the next level it's 100, but your current XP stays at 50. We're not doing that in this. Okay. This is purely going to reset our current experience, increase the max experience that we need to level, and continue on. Ideally, it does the exact same thing as the other method, with less flashy numbers and not having 1 million out of 2 million needed to level and all that fun stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. I went into my thing, I opened up 4.12, hit launch, made just a default game. It's the first person template. I didn't make anything fancy on it. This is just straight up, here it is, okay? Nothing's been added, nothing's been changed. Alright, so the first thing we need to do though is we need to define these values that we're going to use for the experience. How are we going to tell the system that this is what we're increasing, this is what we're decreasing? Or, you know, you may want to, if in your game, if you die, you lose experience, like EverQuest 1 did by Sony. You know, you may want that. So, for sake of keeping everything simple, I'm going to make an assets folder. In this assets folder, I normally would put my game modes, my player controllers, any kind of information that controls anything that my game is using, such as save files, stuff like that. So I'm going to double click to open that up. Now normally I would make a folder for each type of asset. Menu assets, game assets, interface assets, all that fun stuff. But since the first person template has all that, I'm not even bothering with it. We're just going to make what we're here to make. So the first thing is we're going to right click in the window to pull up this nice little set here. And we're going to go all the way down here to blueprints. Okay, you can click on blueprint class and get to the same thing, but this is actually a faster way. Go to blueprints, blueprint interface. Okay, we're going to type this. I'm going to name mine character values or char values. If you, of course, you got to be able to spell to do that. There we go. If you haven't been programming very long, and a lot of your script-based programs, a lot of the times your player character is referred to as char, short for character. So just kind of a heads up on where I got that from. So we double-click that and we open it up. Okay. Now when you first open it up, this is all you have. Nothing fancy, nothing, you know, sweet. So we're going to rename this new function to character values, and again I cannot spell apparently. All right. Now, we need to add some values in here so that we can pull them out later and use them where we need to and do whatever we need to. In this case, we need 2. We need our current experience, and we're going to make this a float. Now, the reason I want to make it a float is because I actually want to use decimals. I don't want whole numbers when dealing with this. Okay, and I'll show you why in a minute. And then the next thing that we're going to need is the max experience. So, how much experience we currently have, and the maximum that we need to actually level. These are the two values that we need to have access to for our character stuff. Right? So we are done in here. You can close that out. Okay. Now, if you are using the template like I am, you need to get to the first-person blueprint stuff. Okay, so it's first-person BP. Go into blueprints and find your first-person character. Right? If you are not using the template and you are using your own, then you simply need to go in and find where you put your character and use it. Open it up and go with it. All right. Now, with this being 412, it looks like they've got a lot of VR stuff in here now. Having all that set up and ready to roll. For us, all of that means absolutely nothing. But we're going to go ahead and use this nice little open space here. All right. Now, the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to be able to control the leveling. Okay. So we actually need to go into this class settings right here, hit add, and then you want to find your values one that you made. In my case, again, character values. All right. Double click on it over here. Once you've added it there, it'll come over here and be under interfaces. All right. So once you've done that and you've double clicked on it, you notice that now it's actually usable. We can do stuff with it. I can set this value, I can set this value to whatever I want. Okay. We're going to keep those zeros though, because we're going to actually have the system, or not so much the system, but the program actually determine what our current and what our max is going to be. So I'm going to call this PCC experience. That's going to be player character current experience. I want to make it editable because I need to access this outside of the main character blueprint. Because say like you're going through and you're killing an enemy. In that enemy's blueprint, you need to have it give the experience. And the only way to do that is to make sure it's editable. And this eye right here will be highlighted. It'll be an open eye, not a closed eye like this gray ones here, to show that it is actually editable amongst other classes. And then this one here is going to be our PC max experience, if my thing would type. There we go. Alright. Sorry for some of the scratching and stuff you might hear in the background. My cats think that my couch is a clawing machine. But what can you do when you have new kittens? Alright, we're going to save that. Now, we're going to go ahead and set a PC max experience here. We're going to set it to 50 just for a base start. You can set it to whatever you want. It doesn't have to be 50. Just set it to something if you want to. You can have script set it up to something else if you want. Don't matter. Alright, so now we can go ahead and close out of that. Okay. And I actually forgot one thing that we need to put into our into our character value. So if we open that back up, we need to have one more variable in here, and this is going to be the one that controls the PC level. Okay, we got to be able to tell the system what level we're going to, and this is going to be an integer because I don't want to be level 1.2179. No, I'm either level 1 or I'm level 2. There is no middle area. The progress bar will tell us that we are 25% or 30% or 50% through our level. Okay. Now, with that being done, now we are actually officially done in there. So my apologies for that earlier. Go back in here and do our character values in our character window, and we're going to promote that to a variable. And then make sure that it is editable. Alright, So we can save that. And we're going to start off at level 1. So we're going to go ahead and set that to level 1. Oops. I don't know what I just opened. Probably help window or something like that. It'll tell me here in a minute. Okay. So we're done in here for right now. So we can go ahead and just minimize the character screen thing. But you notice when we play it, we don't see anything on the screen. There's nothing telling us what level we are. There's nothing telling us, what our experience is or anything like that. So we need to get that up there. And by doing that, we're going to need a HUD. So in order to do that, we need a HUD. So I'm just going to right click, come down here to User Interface, and I'm going to select Widget Blueprint. And I'm going to name this PC HUD. You can name it whatever you want. Again, my naming conventions don't exactly make sense, but it is what it is. All right. So double click, open that up. Now we're going to put a few things in here. We want to know what level our character is. Okay. So we need a text window out here that is, I'm going to say 125 by 125. So it's a nice big number and we can see it. I'm going to say 56 on our size. Okay. And then I'm going to label it PC level ID. Okay. That's going to identify what level our character is. That's the text field doing that. All right. The other thing we're going to need is a progress bar that shows us just how much experience we have and how much is left to gain for us to be able to level. So this is, I'm just going to name it level bar, nothing fancy. All right. The other thing we're going to need is we're going to need 3 text blocks out here. Well, actually, we're going to need 4, or at least I want 4. All right. Here's the reason why. This one here is going to be nothing more than that. It's going to be a backslash, nothing more. All that's going to be used for is a divider between the current experience and the maximum experience we need in order for our character to level. So I'm going to position those in there like I want to. And you can use this position X, position Y to tweak it, make sure it's right. See, that's not right along the Y axis, so 120. There we go. So now I can do the same thing here. I can go 120, and then all I gotta do is just drag it back. Okay. Slide out this way. Now, this here is going to be our experience space colon. Alright. And I do not want this centered. I want this to the left. That way it stays over here. Alright. Go ahead and save just to make sure we have. Now this one is going to be PCC XP. And then this one here is PC Max XP. Alright. So now that we have everything labeled, are we going to see anything? Well, the answer to that is no. And the reason for that is we need to set up the scripts of these 2 text blocks, this level block, and the progress bar to actually display something. Alright. So the way we do that, let's do the text bar first here, okay? We're going to go to Bind, Create Binding. Alright. Now, remember that character values thing we made before? Well, we're going to drag off of the node. We're going to type in character values. Now, notice you'll see class, char values, and character values. Now, if you've named it differently, you won't see it, but what you're looking for is something along this line. It'll be character values, and it'll say message. Ideally, it's going to look like this, or it may have more along the side over here if you have HP, ammos, genders, whatever you may have. Okay. For target, you drag off and you go get player character. You do not want the player controller. You want the player character. The player character has the information we seek. Okay. Another thing that I want to change is click on the return node and change from text to string. Okay. Now this may seem like a weird thing, but I have noticed in my testing periods of getting this to work to begin with that if I left it as text, it was not displaying, but when I switched it to string, the integers and the floats were able to be displayed. So I drag off of the PC level and then drag on to that. You'll notice that this conversion of an integer value to a string has appeared, and you want that to appear. If it didn't appear, drag off of PC level, type in int, and nope, it's not going to come up that way anymore. Alright. Okay, type in string, and then here at the bottom you see a function that says toString. Click on that, you'll get the same thing. Alright, so that's how you do that. Now that there, compile and save, will allow us to see exactly what our level actually is. But again, if we minimize that, we still don't see it in the actual game. The way we fix that is we go blueprints, open level blueprint. Now you notice this is, even for the template, this is completely blank. Okay, so we're going to scroll back in, and I'm going to go event, begin play. What this means is that as soon as my level loads, not my character, my level, okay, this is in the level blueprint. So as soon as the level loads, whether it's reloading after I've died, whether it's loading for the first time, whether it's loading after I've loaded the game from a save point, whatever the case, once this map is executed, it is loaded up and running, this event is going to fire, okay? And it'll only fire at that point in time. It will not continuously fire. So we want it to create the widget. All right. The class, hold on, auto-saving. The class, and I don't know why I have all these options here, so just ignore them. That's probably part of the 4.12 default thing. But what we're looking for is HUD. So PC HUD, all right. The owning player is get player controller, okay? Because it's going to be the controller of the player that allows us to see and interact with this. And then off of return value, we're going to add to viewport. All right, compile. So now if we minimize this and we hit play, you'll notice we have our HUD. We have our level, the word experience, our progress bar, and we have two text blocks that currently have nothing to them. All right. All you have to do is the exact same thing we did before. All right. And that is to take and tie each individual value in and switch them. I'm going to pause the video and go ahead and get that done in mine. So you should go ahead and take this time too as well. Once you are completed, go ahead and unpause this video if you must pause it yourself to be able to get. Alright, welcome back. I went ahead and took care of that. I'm in my PC Max right now, so just to go over it real quick so you can see what I did. I made my character's value thing here. I gave it my player character as the target. Max experience is connected to a string. Remember, you got to switch it to a string. It starts out a text, but you got to make it a string. And the same thing with the PC current experience. So now if we run this, we can see that we have 0 out of 50 experience. So we're doing good. Now I'm not going to go through and I'm not going to try and tweak where it's located, even though my OCD is kind of going ballistic with it right now. But for the sake of this video and time, we're not going to bother with it. So the next thing that we're going to do is get the progress bar working. Okay? Now, we got to see that it's working. So we got to do something back here in our character blueprint to show that it is working. So we're going to go in here, and we are going to hit the K key. K for kid. Once you do it right, it should come up with 3 different things on the event key there: pressed, released, and key. And what we are going to do here is we are going to take our current experience. We're going to get that. We're going to add to that. So you want to do an add, but make sure it's float plus float. We're going to add a value of 2.75. Just this value is purely just picking a value off the top of my head. You can have your mobs do a random thing. You can have your enemies do some more than others. It's whatever you want. Then we're going to take and we're going to set it. We've got to set the new current experience. So now that is set. So now if we hit compile and we save it, we hit play, we can hit our K key, and we can see on the text there that it is going up. So now we got to get it to display on the progress bar. Okay? So how do we do that exactly? Well, whoops, wrong one. What we do here is we go to our PC HUD. We go back to our designer graph there. We select the bar, our progress bar. Okay? Right here you're going to see progress. It says %. Now this % is based on a value from 0 to 1. So anything above 1 is above 100%. Alright? So what we need to do is create a binding here. We're going to drag these apart. That will tell us what's what. Now I control copied the stuff that we need here. So as you can see, I have my character, I have my values. I no longer need that. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide. You need to make sure you have float divided by float. We're going to divide the current from the max, plug that into the return value, and then we're going to load those up. So now, when we hit play, we hit K, we can see that our bar is loading up. We get all the way to the end of it, but nothing happens. Our experience gain keeps going up, but we do not level. So now we're going to fix that. That's the last thing that we need to do. Let me double check, make sure there's no event ticks here real quick. Event begin play, input respawn, or reset. Nope, okay. So we're going to right click on our graph. We're going to do event tick. You can only have per blueprint one event tick. Alright? You can have other things that call to this event, but you cannot have more than one event tick node. If you try to make another one, event tick, you will get taken right back to that event tick. It will not make a new one. Alright? So remember this. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to drag off of that node and we're going to type in branch, because we needed to know something. If this happens, it needs to level us and reset our values. So what do we need to know? We need to know if the current experience is greater than or equal to, so you want float greater or equal float, connect the two, make sure that your current experience is over the max experience, and then connect that up to the conditional on the branch. Okay, we're going to leave false alone, because if it's false, then you know what, we really don't give a darn at the moment. Alright, so we're going to drag this off. We're going to set PCC experience. Now, why am I setting this? Well, we have to reset it to 0, or as close to 0 as it can, because if I'm at 54 and I increase my level by 2.75, I'm going to have 1.75 extra to start off my next level with. We want to give the character that extra because they earned it by killing whatever they killed or gathering whatever they gathered, you know, whatever the case may be. So we're going to drag out the current experience. We're going to drag this off. All right. We need to do a float minus float, and then we need to connect the max XP to it. What this is doing is this is going to get us whatever is left, okay? So if we have 100 experience and the current experience is 100, and we need 80 of it to level, how much of it's going to be carried to the next level? And then we plug that into that. Okay? Now we need to increase our max experience, because we don't want it to be 50 all the time. You know, if level 1 is 50, level 2 should be slightly harder to obtain, and 3 harder than 2, 4 harder than 3, so on and so forth. So we're going to drag this out. We're going to do a set and a get, because you got to make sure you have them both. You can do whatever you want here, okay? But make sure it's a float times float, multiplication A, B, okay? I want to double mine, but I kind of want some randomness to it. Instead of just being 50, 100, 200, 400, 800, so on. I want a little bit of randomness. So I'm doing by 2.15 instead. Now, when we do this, this is going to give us some weird thing of 118.79437.850, whatever. We don't want that. Okay, we want to keep the amount of experience required to a whole number. Now, these are floats. Floats cannot, in their own setting, be whole numbers. Okay? They will always be 2.0, 1.0, 2.79, 2.34. They will never be 1, 2, 3, 4. They can equal it, but in actuality, in reality, they are 1.0, 2.0. So what we need to do is we need to drag off of our return value, and we need to get a random. Okay. Now notice it's not here. That does not surprise me. Hit context sensitivity or sensitive. Uncheck that, and you will then see random float. Okay. It returns a random float between 0 and 1. Whoops, wrong one. My apologies. Integer. Where? Alright, hold on 1 second here. Round. Okay. Sorry, I put in the wrong thing. Okay, it's not random, it's round. I apparently cannot do anything right tonight. So we type in round, and with case sensitive, it shows up. All right. Now you'll notice we go from a light green on the A to the return value being a kind of tealish color green. That means that we turned the float into an integer. We rounded to the nearest whole number. All right. Now we're going to plug that into our experience thing, and notice it takes it right back to a float. All right. That is fine. That is acceptable. You can even do this if you wanted as integers on the whole thing, and just increase it, like I said before, 50, 100, 200, 800, so on and so forth, multiplying by 2 or 3 or whatever it is you want to multiply by. All right. And then after we do that, we need to increase our character's level based on the fact that we have gone above the maximum experience that we needed. So we're going to add, so integer plus integer, all right, and that is it. We want to be +1 because we're only adding 1 level here. All right. And then if we minimize this and play it, you'll notice we have our bar. It fills up. And then when we get to the end there, we hit K again. Now notice, we leveled to 2. We have 2.25 left from the previous level. And now we need 108 to level. So if we go through that again, we keep on kicking through. Notice that it's at 106.75 to 108. And if you remember, we set it to 2.75 or something like that. So if we take and we hit it again, we're now at 1.5 into the next level, where we need 232 to level. All right. And that is how we make an XP bar. Now you can do it all kinds of flashy or whatever it is you want to do. You can set things up to be slightly different. You can, sorry, you can even put a graphic over top of it. If you wanted to do that, you would go into your actual HUD there, go into the design, click on your progress bar, and under style, click on style. Under fill image, you would select like whatever image it is you have, and that would, as the bar fills, put that image further in. So like if we pick this mannequin mat here, for example, for some reason, and we hit play, the bar is empty. But as we hit the K button, you notice the bar fills up with that material that we had set it up to be. Now, if we wanted to put a graphic literally over top of it, okay, what you have to do in that particular instance is take and kind of put an image over top of it. So you get into the Z order thing. You would come over here to the image, drag it out. You would come over here and go to color and open. No, not color and opacity. What am I doing? Where's it? Brush. Oh yeah. You click on brush. You select the image you want. Let's say first person crosshairs. We drag it up over top of it. Drag it a little bit out. It looks weird, it looks distorted, which is not what your image would actually look like, but as you can see, now we have the image over top of the bars there, and as we fill, you could use this particular method to show a more 25, 50, 75% basis. I have one that I'm marking on, as you can see here. It's marked off in fours. So this is 25% of a level, this is 25% of a level, this is 25%, and this is 25%. So when that bar crosses this marker, I know I have gained at least 25% of my level, 50% of my level, 75% of my level when I cross this third line. When I hit this fourth one out here, I hit the end of that bubble, I then am given my level, and I can move on to the next level and do it again. Alright, well that'll be it for this video, and I hope that you enjoyed it. I am going to be hopefully getting more videos out again like I used to, working on different things. So if you have any ideas, or you're stuck on something and you need to figure out how it's done and you'd like a video made of it, leave it in the comments below and I will gladly see what I can do.